All right, guys. So, welcome to another episode of Club Goulash. I am super duper excited to be here because today is a new topic. I told you goulash is a mixture of everything. I learned that from some inmates working 6 years in the jail, and it's just a mixture of everything. Today, we have a special guest. I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine. I've known her for years. Very, 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 very big heart, big sweetheart. And she works in mental health. So today's topic is going to be about mental health. I want to go ahead and introduce her without further, what's it called? Residue? No, it's not residue.
Ado.
I would like to introduce my good friend, Kian.
Hello, everyone.
We love you so much. So, Kian, go ahead and introduce yourself. What exactly do you do and how you relate to mental health in that aspect? Just let the people know the world is watching.
Absolutely. So my name is Kian Owens. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I am licensed in the state of Florida. I've been a social worker for the past 11 years this year, and I've been doing therapy a little less than that. So I am actually a licensed mental health therapist.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's pretty deep. I can't even spell half this. So let's just toast to that right here. Where your glass? You got your glass? Somebody? Mm-hmm. There we go.
So a lot of people don't know that being a social worker, you can actually be a therapist as well. Most people think social workers, they work in like ChildNet or, they have other different specialties, but I've actually been a mental health therapist. I have my own therapy private practice that I've opened. I do coaching. I also do consulting for other therapists as well.
Wow. That's pretty deep. All these years I've known you, I never knew that. No. I thought you sold drugs.
No, not at all. Therapy drugs.
Therapy drugs. Good, good. So, got a bunch of questions I would like to ask you. Maybe something that somebody else may want to know, or somebody may help them in a current situation, or maybe they could see the benefits of it, just to bring some more awareness to mental health.
Absolutely.
One of the questions I like to ask everybody is, how important is mental health? Well, how important do you think mental health is in the Black community?
So I believe that mental health is extremely important, not only in the Black community, but in every community, but especially ours, because we don't take our mental health seriously.
We don't. That's why I asked that. We don't. From what I'm seeing, nobody never say, maybe he has a mental health problem. They always say, no, that mother effer is crazy.
If you think about it, we've always been kind of bred on survival, right? We've always had to learn how to survive and, get through the hard times, even since slavery. Like it's a part of our DNA. So I think that when it comes to talking about emotions and feelings, a lot of people, they categorize that as weakness. So I think that's why a lot of times we don't really highlight mental health in the Black community.
You just got deep. I just wanted to give some thinking. I feel like I was at a poetry setting right there. Very well said. And I agree with you totally, because like I said, I've never in my young adulthood, even when I was in high school, I never even heard of mental health. Not one time. We always got that one uncle that's a little, but we kind of expect that. We don't really know what happened, but we never think to stop to say, hey, this is a mental health issue that, maybe we should go get this guy checked out. We always think that it's maybe something else or, some type of other excuse.
Yeah, I think that mental health is easily ignored. And I think, as I stated, because we always want to show ourselves as if we're strong, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, like, I played sports majority of my life, and one of the conditions that you can get from playing sports from constantly banging your head is something called CTE. The correct the actual name of it is, I don't really know, but we call it CTE. But basically it's something that has to do with your brain, right? Mm-hmm. And then it leads to mental health issues, but people never want to accept or agree with that or give it that actual title. They always say that, it's just something else. Especially war veterans too as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I work with a lot of people who have been experienced to all types of trauma, military trauma, childhood trauma, traumatic car accidents. All of those things can affect your mental health. I tell people all the time, anybody who you're looking at, you're one step away from insanity. Sanity and insanity is a very fine line. There's many things that can happen that can really push you to the point of, losing it or
Oh man.
needing assistance.
So let me ask you something. Do you think it's possible if somebody's like at that breaking point that things just been building up, something small can just trigger them?
Absolutely. We all have triggers and our triggers get compiled, right? So the more that you ignore your triggers, it's kind of like when you have like something that you haven't washed for a while,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's not going to clean itself, obviously. So the more that you let it sit, it's going to compile and compile and compile and compile. That's just like how we are, our brains. We need some type of release. And if we don't have those releases, we'll explode.
So when you say release, I know all the guys like, yeah, we like that part. Yeah, the release part. Oh, 6 minutes. I think I actually experienced that before. I think I experienced where I felt everything is compiled, and I went to the vending machine, and the vending machine would not give me my peanut M&Ms, and I just lost it. I was like, oh, what the, this is bull. Everything that came out of the word. Somebody was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, no, I was just cussing them out. I came home, my kid was like, hi, Dad. I was like, no, the M&Ms, and go to your room. And, I was completely out of my mind for a little bit, and I was very, very frustrated.
Yes.
And I just felt like things just kept building up, and that kind of led me to that. But that makes sense what you said earlier.
Yeah, it happens actually more than not. A lot of times if you work in like a high stress environment or you have a high workload, a lot of times you find yourself being increasingly like irritable, angry, and you
Yeah.
don't know why, and you may take it out on the wrong person. You ever heard of the term of like somebody having a bad day, they come home and they kick the dog?
No, I never heard of that. We don't do that. But that's an interesting term.
Right. It's the same thing. Like when your emotions are not addressed,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of explode at a certain point on something that was probably so minuscule. So, for example, on a different day,
Mm-hmm.
not getting the M&Ms, you would have been like, man, I'm gonna get some Doritos or I'm gonna get something else.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
on that particular day, that little thing that sent you right over the edge.
Yeah, it sent me over the edge. Okay, cool. All right. Let me ask you, what inspired you to want to get into mental health? Like,
So I can tell you, ever since a child, I've always wanted to help people. I was always the one who wanted to make sure everyone was okay, wanted to,
wow,
make the plates for everyone. Like I was always somebody who wanted to help.
it's not that many people like that in the world.
Right. And not genuine people, at least.
No, not yet. Not genuine.
So I actually was going to school, my undergrad, shout out to UF. I went to school to be a doctor.
Okay.
And then after like my first semester, I was like, no, I got to go home. I realized like, maybe being a doctor isn't for me. And then I transferred to FAU and I did a lot of research on the different professions and majors they had. And I realized that social work was something that would still give me the ability, because my goal was to be a medical social worker.
Okay.
I always wanted to work as a social worker in a hospital, which I did that beginning in early of my career.
I wanted to be a Power Ranger, but go ahead, continue.
So I always wanted to still help people, but in a medical setting, right? So after a couple of years of being a medical social worker, I realized that it's a lot deeper than just case management and getting your resources. Like we need to talk to people. Like,
yes, absolutely.
people need someone to talk to. And I used to do it kind of when I was a case manager, just talk to people, take an extra 10 minutes out of my day to talk to people. And you realize that you catch so much more bees with honey.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you talk to someone and you just ask them how their day is or what's going on, you'll realize you'll get them to open up and really like do anything that you want them to do. Like, for example, as a case manager, sometimes patients didn't like to talk about discharge planning when they got to the hospital. We don't want to talk about leaving. I just got here. Ask them how their day is. Do you have a pet at home that you miss? And at that point, they're going to open up and give you all the information you need to make an accurate discharge plan. So once I realized that, it really kind of made me feel like there has to be another way I can just talk to people.
That's amazing how the human behavior is commonly overlooked and not noticed in a way. Because a normal person like me would never think twice about that. Like, why do you want to go home? You want to get out of here, right? And
Absolutely.
Working in the jail setting where I work at now, we experience that all the time. We have guys that come there and I'm like, hey man, it's time for you to get released. No, I don't want to go. Why you don't want to go? Why would you not want to get out? And because they're kind of dealing with something that's outside of here and they feel comfortable where they at now. And this is they normally act normal within this setting versus when they get out. And
You know why that is?
why is that?
Because they're in a controlled environment. There's not many variables.
Mm.
When you're outside of that controlled environment, you have to really handle life as it comes versus when
Yeah.
you're in there, you know, you got to wake up at a certain time. You know that you're going to eat at a certain time. You don't have to worry about your next meal. So there's a level of comfort when you're in that kind of controlled environment.
Maybe I should go to jail. Because the way these prices are raising up out here, boy. Okay, that's good. So that's interesting. Let me see. Let me give you another one. What can you describe a particularly challenging case and how you handled it?
Yes. So I would say that in my history of being a medical social worker, one of the hardest cases that I had was with a young girl who
Okay.
was recently diagnosed with cancer.
Oh my God. I'm sorry to that.
And working in oncology, it's a hard field, yet it's very rewarding. I tell people all the time. So just being able to give therapy to somebody who thinks they're dying is hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To give resources and reassurance and to speak to someone. And I would talk to them like right after they got diagnosed, very early. So I would say that would have been one
I
of the
couldn't do
most,
that. There's no way I could do that. It takes a different type of person to do that.
yeah, that would have been one of the most challenging cases I would say to have to speak to somebody who's 18, getting ready for college, and they find out that they have this serious diagnosis. I think that was really hard.
You know, there was a football player recently. I can't exactly remember his name, but he was diagnosed with cancer and he had to stop football. And I want to say I believe he passed as well. I think he played for the LSU football team, and that's very sad. He was just in the beginning of his career, so I can only imagine what type of mental toll that took on him going that journey, especially this young lady that you're speaking about.
Right.
How was she able to recover from?
Yeah, she before I left, I left the Cancer Institute back in 2020, but before I left, she did go into remission.
Oh, great, great! It's like a round of applause.
Yeah.
So we talk about mental health aspect from like how you are treating patients and how you deal with different people. How do you maintain your own mental health? What type of tactics do you do?
So that is an excellent question. So I tell people all the time, even when I'm consulting with new therapists, doing supervision for therapists, I tell people that the quickest way to burn out is not having a self-care plan. You have to do something for self-care. For me personally, it's traveling, as you know. Any chance I get, I'm out of here.
Boombastic.
Any chance I get, I have to go. That's just my peace, to get on a plane and to know that I'm going to another location, that I don't have to worry about, the stressors and the rigmarole of everyday life.
The daily
here.
routine of things.
That is it for me. But, when it comes to being a therapist, right? We help people through their problems.
Yes.
And a lot of times in doing that, you're taking on those problems, like unbeknownst to you. So I always try to practice self-care, even if it's between like each session. So if I have a day that's pretty packed, even just getting up and stretching for 5 minutes does a world of good.
Yeah, releasing the tension and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Taking a walk, going outside, even if it's just to see this. Because, sometimes you're at work, you are inside 4 walls for hours. You don't see the sun.
Imagine being inside 4 walls and bars. And,
Exactly.
And some people that may want to hurt you. It's very stressful and
Stress inducing for sure.
For like you said, that's your way of dealing with it, your own methods. Mine is I get home, I play the video game. I play the video game and I lock in, and it takes me and my mind to a whole different place,
Realm, right?
a whole another realm, and it's a certain way for me to release. Just kind of woosah and break down, so I don't act like I acted when I went to the vending machine.
And the M&Ms. But I tell people all the time, self-care for me may be different for you, right? I couldn't tell you nothing much about playing a video game. I know there's a PS5 and an Xbox, and you got Warzone, I think. But for you, that's your thing. Everybody can have a different type of self-care. It doesn't have to be the same. A lot of people, when they come to therapy and they're trying to learn healthy coping skills. And they're like, well, what do I need to do? I tell them, well, first of all, you got to find out what works for you, because I can tell you what to do, but it may not resonate with you. I may tell you to journal and you hate writing.
Yes.
I may tell you to go take a walk and you don't like to get sweaty.
Yeah.
So
This
you
is true.
have to identify what really works for you and what resonates with you, right? I can give you a list of self-care activities. Maybe 3 of them would really work because everyone is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And for most men, we usually like one thing that that helps us release that stress, and even if it is for 4 minutes, you would be amazed at how much is lifted off your shoulders. Like the same problems are still there. People think that those problems is the word, but those same problems are still there. But it's like, yeah, I can take it on now. So you said Superman's coming to kill me? Like, that's no problem. I got some kryptonite. So that's good to know. What role do you think that medication plays in mental health treatment?
So there are some people who are like hard against medication, right? And I always tell my clients it's worth exploring simply because medication and talk therapy simultaneously can give you great results, right? However, there are a lot of people who are skeptical about medication. One of the biggest, I want to say, fears is that if I start something, I'm going to have to be on this forever.
For the rest of
Right.
your life, yeah.
I work very closely with psychiatric nurse practitioners and psychiatrists to help, especially my clients that are African American or Black, to realize that, medication is not the end all be all. That doesn't mean that, we're going to lock you up soon. It just may be another tool. Just like therapy is a tool, your coping skills are a tool, having self care routines are a tool, relaxation methods are a tool. Medication is a tool as well. It just helps you.
Absolutely. For me, I know because right now where I work at is a mental health correctional facility. And I noticed that some of these guys need their medicine. If they don't take their medicine, I know automatically by how they act and how they react. They're not taking their Depakote and all these other mental health medicines. I know for a fact that these guys are going to start acting a little bit off. And some of them are schizophrenia. They have, I don't know any other terms. I don't know why I act like I did, but there's a lot of terms where I know that they are not on their medicine. And when they take their medicine, the nicest guys ever. Nicest guys ever.
So, one of the reasons that is because when you take your medication, your body builds up like levels, right? So that's why we tell our clients, if you're going to stop taking a medication, don't do it cold turkey. You have to taper yourself.
Gradually,
you have to taper yourself down. And that's because those inmates, they're probably have low levels of the medication in their system when they're missing a dose or not taking it. And that's why you're seeing that they're acting differently. A lot of people swear by medication and it helps them. There's a lot of people who could benefit from medication. I tell people all the time, just like how there's levels to things, like, how you go to get gas?
Yes.
There's 93, there's 89, there's 87. It's the same thing with medication. The medication that you start, if you see a psychiatrist, you may not have to start at the highest dose there is. You can start at something that's, small, minimal. You can probably even do something that's PRN, which means you can take it as needed. There's a lot of options, but I feel like we as a community, we hear medication and we put our walls up and we say, no, I don't want medication. I don't want to talk about that. But I encourage all of my clients, if they need it, at least do an assessment just to see what the recommendation is, and you can still decline it.
Okay. Medication. I'm drinking my medication right now.
Some people use, alcohol as a form of a coping skill.
Okay.
It's not a healthy one, but it's still a coping skill.
I just don't want to be the ones to be counting calories. Like, you see how you haven't drunk your drink the whole entire time? I'm pretty much finished here.
It has to last me.
Let me see. So, is it different with different cultural backgrounds when you do mental health assessments?
Yes.
Ooh.
It is.
It is. So when you say it is, like, what exactly is the difference that you notice in between the different cultural backgrounds?
So, I don't know the specific statistics, but I know that being a Black therapist is like the minority. There's not many of us.
Okay.
Right. And as a result, there's not many Black therapists to go around for all the Black, Caribbean, indigent people who need therapy.
Right.
When I have a client
Mm-hmm.
that is of Caribbean descent or, identifies as an African American, there is this thing that I utilize called cultural competency. There are conversations that I believe that I can have with my clients that other therapists cannot. I've had clients who have come to me and they're like, Kian, I didn't want to miss my appointment because I didn't want that fee, but I got to take my hair out. And they got their bonnet on, and I feel like they wouldn't feel comfortable in doing that with another.
Oh, what exactly is going on here? Are you, something's wrong with your hair?
So I think that's one of the things that I pride myself in, knowing that I create a safe space for my clients to be there. And I see that big difference. Now I do have, clients of all ethnicities, but one of the big things for me is being culturally competent, not only with the African American or the Caribbean culture, but with other cultures as well. I'm able to have, sensitivities to my Jewish cultures or, speak about the Holocaust and how that can, affect them. You have to be a cultural competent therapist to be able to get to your clients.
Do the Jewish clients bring bagels? I'm sorry. I don't know.
I don't get any food.
I'm sorry. I'll be having them bring me bagels. Well, I you know what? I learned a lot. I'm very thankful that you came on and spoke. Some of the things that I had a misconception about, you definitely opened up a lot of light about that. Like I said, I've been friends with this lady for a long time. I never knew what she really did. I only had a little bit of insight of what she did. I thought she sold drugs. And then, because she lives really nice. She has a nice car, nice house. She's always looking as pretty as you see. I never seen her looking busted. So I thought that she probably was on BMF or something like that. I'm not really sure.
No.
But I'm very thankful that you took the time out to come on to the show today and open up a little bit of eyes and enlighten us about this information about mental health. And it's a very, very serious thing that people overlook all the time. Even normal people, I don't even know if that's the correct term, but even like everyday working people have mental health breakdowns. And it's because of the daily life that we're going through, the stress. You see what's going on in the world right now. So take that time to release, as she says.
Absolutely.
Find something that gives you that therapeutic, decompression when you just let it all out and continue to practice that. Right?
And it doesn't have to be hard. It can be something very simple, non-expensive. A lot of people think like, oh, well, I need to go get a 2-hour massage every week and that can be pricey. No, I tell my clients all the time, especially my clients who are moms, when's the last time you took a bath?
Yeah.
A lot of times, moms, we're on a rush. We're trying to figure out what to do. Get
quick
kids
shower,
to school, quick showers, maybe can't even do 2. Maybe you can only do 1 in the morning and 1 at night. It all depends. However, like just being intentional and taking 1 bath a week can significantly decrease your stressors. Something as simple as that. You don't have to pay anyone to do it. So I always teach my clients economical ways to promote and help, their mental health, because it doesn't have to be expensive. Another thing that a lot of people think, or another misconception, a lot of people think therapy is expensive.
I absolutely think it's expensive because I was supposed to go to marriage therapy like 9 years ago, and I've been trying to save up to go. So
for 9 years,
yeah, it was actually cheaper to buy a house. So
no, therapy does not have to be expensive at all. There are so many therapists who they do sliding scale, which basically means they meet you where you are. Depending on your income, they'll give you a price based off of that. There's also a lot of therapists like myself. I accept a plethora of different insurance companies. I accept insurance. Many therapists don't. Another thing, there's a lot of foundations out there that provide you with vouchers for free sessions of therapy. And another thing that a lot of people really don't take advantage of is EAP. You can get therapy. More than likely, a lot of employers give you therapy, maybe 3 to 6 sessions through your job for free.
I know my job offers it as well. So, but every time I try to get it, they always deny me.
We have access to therapy, and I think that it's just the education piece. I feel like our community doesn't know that we have all of those options, and that's really what I want to convey, is that therapy doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't have to be expensive. Taking care of yourself doesn't have to be a chore.
I'm gonna say this one more thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. But and I feel like in our community, in the Black culture, I'm just speaking from my own experience, and this is my own opinion from my own observation. But I feel like our culture just they are more about worried about who's in their business and um embarrassed to talk about certain things or even question the thing about going to therapy for anything to do mental health. Everybody wants to feel, like you said before, they're strong and they have like a non effect to things that happen to us, to trauma. That's the
Right.
word you use, right? Trauma. Even with kids as well. A lot of people don't think that kids have mental health problems. They do.
Yes,
They do. I've been trying to figure out what's wrong with my son for the longest. I ain't talked to him in a week. So
Our generation is completely different than the generations that are coming, right?
yeah.
I think that a lot of times our children are trying to find ways to express themselves. And, being a parent in this economy, we're hyper fixated on trying to make sure we got dinner.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that the roof is there.
Mhm.
But don't neglect your kids. Kids can significantly benefit, like tremendously, from therapy. And I encourage my clients who have children who they feel like their child may be a little disconnected or isolating.
Mhm.
You can start with one session every month.
Yeah.
If you don't want to make it seem as if it's, being invasive. But a lot of time, some people, they put their kids in therapy from there in like elementary school.
God, what could possibly a kid could be dealing with in elementary school?
Oh, a lot of things. Bullying is very popular.
I know.
Bullying, trauma, loss of a loved one, loss of a family member. Like how they have those fires over there in California.
Yeah.
Those can be traumatic because remember, a lot of times children can't regulate their emotions like we can. You know how you could just go get on a video game.
Mhm.
If a kid does that and gets on a video game for 8 hours, the parent's not going to allow them to do that. They're going to think they're just slacking off, not knowing that that's how they're trying to regulate their system. So therapy doesn't only benefit adults, but it significantly benefits children. And I tell people all the time, therapy in kids is different. We have people who are specialized in like play therapy,
Mhm.
where it's not like how you and I may sit down and talk for an hour, right?
Mhm.
You can watch a child, play a game with them. Kids are more expressive. They like actions, right?
Mhm.
So a child therapist who specializes in play therapy may get more information out of your child than you have in their whole life.
Oh, those are the ones that be like throwing a ball to, and they throw it back and like, Johnny, did you want to kill your mom today? No, not today. Just
Kind of not really, but something similar. But kind of play therapy is definitely beneficial for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, see, learned something new already. I was, under impression, where I grew, the way there I grew up, it was like, quiet, get in there, sit down, not knowing that I'm dealing with trauma.
Yes.
But now in today's generation with TikTok and Instagram, social media, these kids and rod wave music, they're like going through a lot.
But think about it though. When we were growing up, we played outside a lot more.
Yeah.
So we didn't know that was our release, but that was how we dealt with any kid stressors that we could have had.
Mhm.
Nowadays, kids aren't really outside. I mean, I live in a beautiful community, and I can tell you the last time I seen a kid outside playing with a ball.
That's what I'm saying, because it's changed. In the community you live in, is very, very rich because you sell drugs. But
you're gonna make them come for me.
Don't come for her, please. I need it for another show later on. But thank you again, Kian. I really appreciate you coming on the show and shining some light on mental health, because we do not shine enough light on it. Not enough platforms talk about it. Not enough people mention it, especially, and I keep saying this, in our culture,
Absolutely.
we don't at all. Like it's like 5% of people. I got friends of all cultures, and majority of my white friends, at least at some point in time, have done therapy.
At least once in their life.
They
right?
have. I've never. My dad has never. My mom has never. So I want to kind of break that kind of tradition, and
Right.
I'm gonna get ready to go to therapy right now.
I'll refer you to a good therapist. I promise I will.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Ken. Thank you so much for coming on.
Welcome.
Okay, y'all stop cheering. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. Check us out next week. We got another episode for you. Give it up one more time for Ken, the mental health therapy and all this other stuff I know. She's so drunk.